Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday, March 21st. Welcome to News 3 Now. We have got an action-packed show today, so I'm not going to give you too much of a hello before we go live to Washington, D.C., where day one of 4 confirmation hearings are underway now for Judge Katanji Brown Jackson, President Biden's pick to be the next Supreme Court Justice. Now, remember, if confirmed, Judge Jackson would become the first African-American woman to sit on the nation's highest court. So like I said, that is happening right now. We are going to take that live from Washington, D.C. And actually, speaking to her now is Senator John Cornyn. So perfect timing for us here in Texas. Let's check this out.
The people merely vet somebody who will serve
part of that judgment
the remainder of their
requires
life.
A judge to go where the law commands.
Unfortunately, there are some driven by their
personally
ideology that want the Supreme Court to do more than what I've just described.
And it starts with deciding cases as presented.
These are some of the same people who tried to bully Justice Breyer into an early retirement.
By the way, by cherry-picked facts and provisions of the law. While the framers provided that the president would nominate judges, the framers also set up a framework that allowed judges, once you are confirmed, to exercise independent judgment, free from elections and politics. And so these Supreme Court confirmation hearings are really the only chance we have as representatives of the people to vet somebody who will serve the remainder of their life. Unfortunately, there are some driven by their ideology that want the Supreme Court to do more than what I've just described. These are some of the same people who tried to bully Justice Breyer into an early retirement. These activists demand that the court make policy and deliver results they can't achieve through the deliberation, compromise, and rough and tumble of legislative politics. And when the court does not deliver the results they want, they attack its institutional integrity and legitimacy. In recent years, these radical views have made their way into the mainstream. On the campaign trail, President Biden refused to disavow court packing. 2 years ago, the Democratic leader of the Senate went to the Supreme Court steps and threatened 2 sitting Supreme Court justices by name if they did not rule in a particular way. Dark money groups like Demand Justice have paid millions of dollars to promote court packing and sow public distrust in the legitimacy of the Supreme Court. Justice Breyer, as you know, recently warned of the crippling effect this politicalization of the court and its decision-making can have. He said, without the public's trust, the court would no longer be able to act as a check on the other branches of government and a guarantor of the rule of law, threatening the foundations of our constitutional system. Judge, I know you know that the courts are not designed to deliver particular policy outcomes or to invent new rights out of whole cloth. That's why it's imperative that we explore your judicial philosophy during this hearing. I will say I was a bit troubled that you have not so far provided us with much clarity on that matter. Someone as accomplished as you are, who spent years engaging and thinking about our Constitution and laws, has surely formed a judicial philosophy. This is not your first rodeo. You've had an impressive career, Judge, as a Supreme Court clerk, appellate advocate, and trial court judge. I like the fact that you've had such broad experience in our judicial and legal system. But there are still unanswered questions that remain. I'm a bit troubled by some of the positions you've taken and arguments that you've made, representing people who have committed terrorist acts against the United States and other dangerous criminals. As someone who has deep respect for the adversarial system of justice, I understand the importance of zealous advocacy. But it appears that sometimes this zealous advocacy has gone beyond the pale. And in some instances, it appears that your advocacy has bled over into your decision-making process as a judge. You've had some cases reversed, like all judges do, but some of them were particularly high profile when you ruled against a Republican administration. I'm eager to understand why in some instances you found that you could not decide a particular issue, while in other instances you enjoined a Republican administration from implementing its policies. I'm also interested, as others have mentioned, in your opinion, why pro-abortion, dark money groups like Demand Justice and anti-religious liberty groups are pouring millions of dollars into a public campaign in support of your nomination. Judge Jackson, these are some of the questions and concerns I have. I assure you that you will have every opportunity to address these concerns as the committee evaluates your ability to fairly and impartially deliver justice should you be confirmed. So I welcome your testimony at these hearings, and I look forward to our give and take. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Senator Cornyn. Senator Whitehouse, Rhode Island.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Welcome, Judge Jackson. I could not be more delighted to have you here.
That will enable you to jump right in once confirmed. Before the D.C. Circuit, Judge Jackson was a trial judge in the District Court in the District of Columbia, ruling on hundreds of cases and presiding over trials, including many jury trials. Judge Jackson, you have presided over virtually every kind of...
Judge Jackson has unparalleled breadth of experience, both on and off the bench. She has already been confirmed by the Senate 3 times. She serves on what is often called the second highest court in the land. The D.C. Circuit handles some of the most difficult and consequential cases in the nation, often taking up questions that later come before the Supreme Court. Judge Jackson, that will enable you to jump right in once confirmed. Before the D.C. Circuit, Judge Jackson was a trial judge in the District Court in the District of Columbia, ruling on hundreds of cases and presiding over trials, including many jury trials. Judge Jackson, you have presided over virtually every kind of case a federal trial judge can hear across criminal and civil law. You have more experience actually trying cases in your courtroom than any other member of the court. As a member of the U.S. Sentencing Commission, you helped establish the policies and practices for federal courts when deciding criminal punishments. With commissioners from both parties, you helped implement our bipartisan Fair Sentencing Act. Complicated and consequential work, and we thank you. It matters to me, Mr. Chairman, that Judge Jackson was also a civil litigator and public defender. She wasn't groomed in partisan petri dishes. She learned practical courtroom experience in both civil and criminal law, how the judicial system works and how it serves or doesn't serve different litigants. And I must say that in Rhode Island, we love that before you clerked for Justice Stephen Breyer, you clerked for Rhode Islander Bruce Selya on the First Circuit. Judge Selya was nominated by Ronald Reagan. He is well regarded by bench and bar, and he thinks the world of Judge Jackson. She is absolutely everything you would want in a Supreme Court justice, he told the Boston Globe in February. She has all the tickets in terms of her intelligence, her education, her work experience, and her demonstrated judicial temperament. He actually said that waiting for the Supreme Court selection process to take place made him feel like a father waiting to hear his daughter's college admissions results. We very much appreciate that Rhode Island touch to this nomination. Judge Jackson is steadfastly committed to the Constitution and the rule of law, and her record reflects the type of even-handedness and independence that will make her such a good Supreme Court justice. Her guiding principle, she has said, is to consistently apply the same level of analytical rigor to a case, no matter who or what is involved in the legal action. She says this means you can, quoting again, be consistent in the way you are analyzing the issues, and you can set aside any thoughts about who is making the arguments and what advantages any side might take away from your opinions. If you have fidelity to the rule of law that is grounded in looking at only those inputs, she said, then I think you can rule without fear or favor. Mr. Chairman, Judge Jackson will be an exemplary justice both because of the qualities that she possesses and because she did not undergo a secret pre-selection process to get here. She is before us on the basis of her own merit, not on the recommendation of a secretive right-wing donor operation hiding behind anonymous multi-million-dollar donations and aimed at capturing the United States Supreme Court as if it were some 19th century railroad commission. The unpleasant fact is that the present court is the court that dark money built. Anonymous donations funded the Federalist Society while it housed the selection turnstile run by the dark money donors. Anonymous money funded the dark money group down the same hallway as the Federalist Society that ran the dark money political campaigns for the selected justices. And because of all that secrecy, Americans are denied any real understanding of the overlap of all that dark money with the political dark money funding the Republican Party, which could well explain the wreckage of Senate norms, rules, and procedures that accompanied the confirmation process of recent nominees. Judge Jackson's nomination and the process by which she was selected stand in sharp contrast. President Biden undertook a thorough and independent review of her record, and she will proceed through a thorough and fair process here in the Senate. We will abide by the new precedents set by Republicans in recent years, but we will not be fabricating new ones. We've already seen dark money groups use dark money to run ads charging that dark money swayed this selection. We are hearing that again today. Ironic, when hundreds of millions of dollars in right-wing dark money built the current court majority and still signals its wishes through flotillas of dark money front groups posing as amici curiae. I welcome the debate on these points, and I look forward to hearing more from the excellent nominee before us. Judge Selya counted the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg an old friend. I see some of the same qualities in Katanji that I saw in Ruth, he said. Humility, the ability to inspire others in a quiet way, not at the top of her voice. Some people, he said, have the capacity to inspire by example and the force of their reason. Judge Jackson, I'm certain your capacity to inspire through force of reason will be on display here this week. Thank you, Chairman Durbin, for your leadership of the hearing, and thank you, Judge Jackson, for being with us today.
Thanks, Senator Whitehouse. Senator Lee of Utah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, so for anyone just now tuning into News 3 Now, day 1 out of 4 days of confirmation hearings now underway for Judge Katanji Brown Jackson, President Biden's pick to be the next Supreme Court justice. Now, if confirmed, Judge Jackson would become the first African-American woman to sit on the nation's highest court. Deborah Alfarone has more details from Capitol Hill.
Judge Katanji Brown Jackson arrived for the start of 4 days of hearings on her Supreme Court nomination.
With your nomination, we can be confident that the court, its role, and its decisions will be more understandable to the American public.
All 22 members of the Senate Judiciary Committee will deliver opening remarks before Judge Jackson introduces herself.
In any Supreme Court nomination, the most important thing that I look for is the nominee's view of the law, judicial philosophy, and view on the role of a judge in our constitutional system.
Judge Jackson currently sits on the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. She's also been a district judge, public defender, and served on the U.S. Sentencing Commission. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell says he will be watching these hearings before deciding whether to support Judge Jackson. And he says he expects Republicans to ask some tough questions in the coming days.
It'll be a respectful, deep dive into her record, which I think is entirely appropriate for a lifetime appointment.
So far, no Republican has committed to supporting her nomination, but all eyes are on the 3 GOP senators who voted to confirm Judge Jackson to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals last year.
Her credentials and the breadth of her experience are impressive. I will, of course, await the hearings before the Judiciary Committee before making a decision.
If the Democrats vote together, they can confirm Judge Jackson without any Republican support. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Well, Senator Dick Durbin says that Judge Jackson is still on track to have a full Senate vote on her confirmation by Easter. In other Supreme Court news, Justice Clarence Thomas is in the hospital with flu-like symptoms. A spokesperson for the court says the justice does not have COVID. He is being treated for an infection. The 73-year-old is the longest-serving member of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments this morning. Thomas will not participate, but he will review the transcripts and listen to the audio of the oral arguments. Well, folks, obviously, when you woke up today, you felt a little bit nervous about the weather because we've been saying severe weather is coming, and today is that day. If there's any day to be weather aware, it is today and tonight especially so. We're going to check in now with Kbtx meteorologist Max Crawford on the latest. Max, we appreciate you taking the time to join us on News 3 Now. Obviously, it is an insanely busy day for the three of you here at Kbtx, monitoring everything that is happening. But for folks who have a little bit of anxiety like me when the weather is less than ideal, let's just put their minds at ease. Obviously, y'all are going to be here all day giving us the latest coverage. What can we expect right now through the workday and then when we get off work?
Yeah, absolutely, Abigail. And you said all day, and likely for a lot of us here at the weather team for a good chunk of the night, too. And believe me, I understand the anxiety part more than I can explain right now. We'll talk about that another time. But essentially, through the rest of at least the early afternoon, so for the next few hours or so, things look a lot like they have for a good chunk of the day. It is about 70 degrees. It's very humid. It's kind of rainy. It's a little drippy out there. Passing showers is really what we're talking about through the next couple afternoons or the next couple hours. Then late into the afternoon, that's when storms are going to start to pop up to our west. Then they will move into the Brazos Valley by the early evening. Those are going to be the first couple opportunities for us to see severe weather. And that is also where the storms could be the strongest. Now we head into tonight, storms look more widespread. And yes, there is a severe potential to go along with that too. But again, I think the biggest concern for severe weather specifically is what we could find out there late afternoon into the early evening. So let me start with kind of how things look out there early into the afternoon. We're going to keep it cloudy. We're going to see passing showers. And the latest from the Storm Prediction Center is this, that we have a 3 out of 5 chance for severe weather. If we're talking about it on severity of 1 to 5, we're kind of in the middle. So it is a day where numerous severe storms are likely. That said, and I think I'm speaking specifically to folks who have storm anxiety because, again, I know how you feel. There is still the chance that you don't see any severe weather at all. In fact, I think area-wise, a lot of us will not. That said, very large hail, 2 inches plus, right underneath that, an isolated strong tornado is a possibility. Some of us will see strong storms capable of 50-mile-per-hour plus wind that could cause some minor damage, heavy rain, things like that. I think those of us who see rain, which is going to be quite a few of us, that's what most of us are going to see today. Everybody is going to see, though, these continued scattered showers, a couple thunderstorms, and some gusts of wind to about 35, 40 miles per hour. So, again, if we're kind of talking a little funnel here at the very bottom of that, as it closes, that is the fewer of us who will see these strong storms, and hopefully none of us. But the concern is very real for some storms that get so strong that they will be rotating, potentially spinning up a tornado or dropping some very, very large hail. And like I mentioned, the biggest time of day where we're going to have to watch that is about the 6 to around 8 p.m. hours. We get closer into the overnight, the severe threat's not over and done with, but the strong tornado, the very large hail threat goes down, and then we shift more to a wind and heavy rain potential. So I'm going to show you the latest pinpoint forecast, and take this with a grain of salt. Take location and timing, and just know that there is definitely still some wiggle room. Even though we are now to the day of the event, model data is more consistent, but we still are going to need some wiggle room, because things will really not start to get super accurate until we actually start to see these storms pop up, right? So we'll start at about the early afternoon. And again, passing showers, couple rumbles of thunder, would not be surprised to see that at all. I think severe weather is pretty unlikely for the next few hours. Now we go farther in, about 4 or 5 o'clock, just out of the frame of this is where we're going to start to see those stronger storms pop up along in west of I-35. They will move eastward through the afternoon. I think what I've been telling everybody is by about 6 o'clock, just be where you're going to be for the night. Because this is where this round of storms coming through could potentially be the ones that spawn tornadoes and very large hail too. Again, note coverage. This is not for all of us, and this is also not a guarantee that Lee and Milam County are going to see this. That has been what we've been favoring with that first round, though. Again, these isolated supercells are going to be what carries the largest severe weather concern. Then we get past about 9, 10 o'clock, more thunderstorms pop up, and yeah, they look pretty rowdy. But the potential for the very large hail goes way down. The potential for strong tornadoes go down, though it's not zero. And we shift again more to the heavy rain and straight line wind threat. This is now at about 2 a.m. I think for a lot of us in the Brazos Valley, we're going to start to calm down, but we could see some lingering thunderstorms across our eastern counties through about the 4 or 5 a.m. hour on Tuesday. But by the time we get to sunrise on Tuesday, I do think that just about all of us are going to be home free. One thing we haven't mentioned a whole bunch yet, a flood watch in effect for our eastern counties. That goes until 7 o'clock tomorrow. That is where we're expecting the higher rainfall totals, 2 to 4 inches widespread, some localized totals of even more. And Abigail specifically speaking to that storm anxiety, which, again, I know the feeling. The good news is we don't have to worry about severe weather after tomorrow morning, and we can enjoy the rest of our week. It's going to be a little bit breezy Tuesday, but other than that, we've got a gorgeous week on the way. Hopefully, we keep the severe weather to a minimum, but we know that it is a very real possibility today, and it is something that we're going to watch. We'll continue to update you on News 3 Now as needed, Facebook, Kbtx.com. However it is that you get your weather information from us, we will keep you updated.
Yes, Max, you are so correct. We are going to continue to keep people updated, pretty much just bombarding them with all of the weather coverage. Now, we've seen, some statewide, like Texas Division of Emergency Management, posting stuff like preparedness tips, right? Obviously, when there's severe weather, it is important to remember a certain amount of things to have that go bag ready. Do you have anything specifically that you think people here in the Brazos Valley should just make sure to watch out for? Obviously, you said by around 6 p.m., just kind of hunker down, be where you're going to be tonight. But for folks who still are feeling like maybe I should, be wearing a bike helmet if a tornado comes, what are you saying to those folks?
I would absolutely say go for it. If you were under a tornado warning and you got your innermost part of your house away from doors and windows, and you want to wear a bike helmet, you want to have a bunch of pillows, blankets around you, things like that, that is absolutely advised. If you don't have a bike helmet or something to cover your head with, it is the same stuff that we were taught in grade school. Have something that you can cover your head with. If it's a big old textbook, if it's just your arms, whatever it is. In that situation, hopefully you don't need to, but yeah, bike helmet, absolutely. That is not going to hurt you, and especially if that makes you feel a little bit more at ease with where you are in your storm safe shelter, by all means go for it. I would say the another thing that I would have you do, just make sure the devices are charged. The tablets, the phones, things like that. If there is a power outage and you lose Wi-Fi, something like that, obviously a cell phone or smartphone would be the most opportune thing to have in that situation. And another thing that a couple of folks have brought up over the past couple of days, and whenever we talk about severe weather season, tropical winter weather season, whatever it is, in addition to having an emergency kit, having some supplies of water just in case. That goes with any part of the year, even wildfire evacuations, which a lot of folks are having to do out in West Texas. I digress. But have the phones charged and know that maybe SMS texts are going to be some of the best ways to communicate with people right as you lose power. Because if you lose power, chances are other people have too, and they're all trying to use the cell towers to make calls and things like that. So sometimes text is going to be the easiest and the quickest way to communicate with folks to let them know you're okay, let them know where you are, etc. So keep that in mind. Again, keep all the devices charged and have some batteries for a flashlight, candles, things like that, just in case the power does go out for you. And with that in mind, we'll continue to send the lower bandwidth updates, more texts and screenshots and things like that, should that become a problem heading into tonight. But if the TV goes out and you do feel comfortable using a tablet or a phone to stream us, whether it's on Facebook or on our website, things like that, that's another way that you can get to us if the power does go out this evening.
And then, Max, the last thing is that I'm going to continue to plug our Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App. How does that app work? Why should folks download that?
Yeah, it's super easy. Just search Kbtx Weather in the App Store, download it, and the amount of information that you have to plug into it is very, very low. You can kind of tell it a zip code, and then it will give you zip code specific, and not instructions, but watches, advisories, things like that, and then just any sort of push notification that we send out to the app. What I would recommend, at least for tonight, enable location services. I know a lot of people don't particularly like doing that with certain apps. It doesn't like knowing where it is. I totally get that. But I would say just for tonight, if you turn that on, it will find your location in space and cater the push alerts specifically to where you are. Some of the ones that we have master control of, we will send out to everybody. But there are others, if there's a watch or if there's a warning specifically issued for your area, you're going to get that notification immediately. Right as the National Weather Service issues it, you'll get that information, and then you can either stay in the app and get more information that way, or switch over to us on air or streaming, or however you get your information from us from a secondary source, and we're going to be there too. We can continue to give you up-to-date information on that. So, yeah, download the app. Again, you don't even have to have it by tomorrow morning, but I would recommend that you have that, or at least another way to get warnings over the course of the night, because some of this might happen post 10 p.m., maybe even post midnight, especially across our eastern counties. And I don't want to make you have to stay up all the way through the overnight. So having your phone on loud, having those notifications turned on is a good way to make sure that you can sleep through it if you can. But if something's coming your way, you want to have a way to get those alerts.
All right, Max, thank you so much again for taking the time to be on News 3 Now. We're going to continue to update, obviously, throughout the entire duration of the day and the nighttime. Max, Shell, and Mia are going to be here. Good luck to you guys, and thank you for what you do for keeping us safe.
Absolutely. Thanks, Abigail.
Well, so if you're like me and you get some anxiety surrounding severe weather, like I said to Max, the Texas Division of Emergency Management did release something that's kind of just like a guide. It's preparedness tips. All right, so let me pull this up. Obviously, we just heard from Max, most of Texas, including us right here in the Brazos Valley, is at risk for severe storms today through tonight, including damaging wind, large hail, even some tornadoes and flash flooding. So Texas Division of Emergency Management kind of released a preparedness for spring weather guideline. Obviously, if you lived in Texas or if you're new here, you know that spring weather can be unpredictable here. So when severe weather hits unexpectedly, risk of injury and death increases, so planning makes sense. We have to prepare for storms, floods, and tornadoes because they are coming. Today is that day. So as we're expecting some very severe weather through the night tonight, here is some advice for items you should include in an emergency kit. Obviously, battery-operated flashlight. That's pretty obvious. We all have flashlights just in case. Make sure you have batteries and make sure you have a weather radio. If you don't have a weather radio, make sure your phones are charged and that you're able to get LTE, right? That's the best way to access it in case your Wi-Fi goes down. Make sure that you have a shelter plan, including a map of your home and how to get safely to each room in your home, whichever the safest ones might be. Obviously, you need to know telephone numbers of neighbors, family, friends, medical information if you have it, Make sure you have a first aid kit, right? I think a lot of us always have first aid kits with us in the house, but just a good idea to put a little one with your emergency go bag with, you know, scissors and some aspirin, or if you're allergic to aspirin like me, some Advil or Tylenol, bandages, just anything that you think that you would need. Obviously, if you have some jugs of water and non-perishable food, personal hygiene items, you are going to want to brush your teeth, I'm sure. Make sure you have an emergency kit in your car, and if you have blankets, sleeping bags, pillows, that's definitely important as well. Make sure that you are communicating with friends and family members all night tonight, just letting them know that you are safe, and if they need to, you know, go somewhere safer, then make sure you're communicating that as well if you move locations. If you lose power, just make sure that your phones are charged. Cannot stress that enough. Make sure that you have, you know, candles, and that you have flashlights, and that you have a radio, or at least that your phone is charged and you have that Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App downloaded. Make sure that someone somewhere knows where you are and that you're updating them and letting them know that you are safe, all right? So that's what we're expecting later today. We'll have more updates from Max, from Shell, and from Mia throughout the entire night tonight. We are full hands on deck weather coverage here at Kbtx. Make sure that all of us here in the Brazos Valley are safe during this severe weather. But we heard from Max. We just have to get through tomorrow morning, and then it's looking pretty beautiful for the rest of the week. So everyone stay safe tonight, and we'll make it through this together. And then when we wake up tomorrow morning and the sun is rising, we're going to be all good to go. Well, hey, make sure you're checking on folks that live to the north of us and to the west of us, because the Eastland complex wildfire that's burning right now in West Texas could become the largest wildfire in state history. Well, according to the Texas A&M Forest Service, that fire is now estimated to be more than 54,000 acres. They say the fire is just 30% contained. The complex has expanded into 7 different fires. Now, when I first told you about this on Friday, it was just 4. The largest of them is the Kid Fire, which has burned over 42,000 acres. That fire is 40% contained. Governor Abbott toured the damage this weekend. He signed a disaster declaration for 11 counties in that region. Another fire we're keeping an eye on is the Big L Fire. Now, that fire began yesterday in Hood County, which is just south of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Now, it's now estimated to have burned about 11,000 acres, and it's at 10% containment. Well, any given year, farmers face several challenges, from drought to storms that can destroy crops. Well, now some farms are moving indoors and going high-tech. CBS News' Laura Podesta takes us on a tour.
We'll have you throw this on. Okay,
great. I suited up in a hairnet and lab coat, then wrapped up my feet.
Perfect.
To step into a futuristic farm.
So this was the first farm ever built by Bowery.
Bowery farming executive Katie Sewell showed us this indoor vertical farm in Kearney, New Jersey, where greens grow in special trays stacked floor to ceiling. LED lighting replaces the sun. The process uses 95% less water than traditional farming, and there's no threat of bad weather or bugs.
We are able to grow pesticide-free produce 365 days a year.
The company places these facilities close to urban areas. This one is just 10 miles from New York City.
We are able to harvest and get our product on shelf in your local grocery store in 48, 72 hours.
Bowery is not alone. Several companies are starting similar farms around the world. BIS Research predicts the global industry will grow from $5.5 billion to nearly $20 billion in 2026.
Do you see any drawback to these indoor farms?
The main drawback that I can see with indoor farms is they do use a lot of energy.
Professor Neil Mattson studies agriculture at Cornell University and says all that power can be a big fossil fuel drain.
If they're not tied to renewable energy, their carbon footprint is higher than growing in a field.
Bowery says the power for this building comes from renewable hydroelectricity. The company grows herbs and leafy greens for harvest at the height of freshness. And strawberries are now starting to hit the market.
Wow.
And other fruits and vegetables could eventually move inside, expanding the produce of this unique farming process. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Kearney, New Jersey.
Well, if your phone was buzzing on and off again during the middle of the night, that was an Amber Alert. An Amber Alert has been issued for Emily and Riley Reagan. Emily is 2 and Riley is 7. They were last seen in Pampa, Texas yesterday afternoon up in the Panhandle. They're suspected to be with Logan Reagan. We haven't received any information on what kind of car they could be in, but if we hear anything, we'll let you know. If you see these girls, call Pampa Police. A Boeing plane carrying 132 people crashed in China this morning. Take a look at this map. The China Eastern Airlines flight was headed from Kunming to Guangzhou when it went down near a city called Wuzhou. It's in southern China. Chinese state media is reporting that the president has asked investigators to determine what caused the crash as they continue to carry out a search and rescue. Right now, it's unclear if there are any survivors. Boeing and China Eastern Airlines both switched their websites in China to black and white, a sign of respect to the victims. According to the Chinese state media, Chinese Eastern Airlines is grounding all of its Boeing 737 planes today. A violent weekend across the state of Texas. A man is behind bars this morning after allegedly shooting at a woman he knows. It started as an argument near Baker Avenue and East 28th Street. Police say Kendrick Lewis dragged the victim by her hair, hit her head against the concrete, and then fired a shot at her, but missed. Lewis was later found hiding in a garage on East 27th Street. He's now being held on a $200,000 bond. Austin police are investigating after 4 people were shot in Austin's entertainment district. The man accused of pulling the trigger is in custody. Investigators believe the shooting resulted from a disturbance between 2 different groups of people. All 4 gunshot victims were taken to local trauma hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And Dallas police are investigating a drive-by shooting that left 10 people injured, including a 14-year-old. We know 1 person was reportedly in critical condition, but the conditions and injuries of the other victims are still unknown. Authorities say the shooting happened outside of a high school-style party involving a number of young people. Dallas police won't say if they have any suspects or have made any arrests at this time. And the Madison County Sheriff's Office says 11 undocumented individuals have now been detained. They were found packed into a small SUV traveling north on I-45. Officials say this was part of a human smuggling operation. Huntsville police are warning about a scam. Police say some residents have reported they're being scammed out of large sums of money regarding unpaid bills. Huntsville police want to remind the public that no legitimate bill collector will ever ask you to mail them cash. They also may say that, many of these scams are targeting our elderly community, so be on the lookout for that. Now, a follow-up to a story we reported last week. Investigators say the pickup truck that crashed into a van and killed 9 people in West Texas last week had a spare tire that failed. Well, we spoke to an expert about how to drive on a spare tire safely. A technician at Texas Tires in Bryan says it depends on what kind of vehicle you're driving. He says smaller cars like 4-door sedans should only drive on a spare for the trip to the nearest tire shop.
I highly recommend ASAP getting that donut taken off that vehicle and having the factory rim put back on with the full-size tire.
He says it is a little bit different with pickup trucks. The spare tire for a truck tends to be another full-size tire because of its size and its weight. He says drivers can still run into trouble if the spare isn't replaced and maintained along with the other 4 tires. All right, it's about that time. Let's talk about gas prices. AAA reports the national average of gas is at $4.25 a gallon. That's 7 cents less than prices a week ago. Here are the lowest gas prices in Bryan College Station. Well, the lowest is at Tommy's Drive in West 28th Street in Bryan. That's at $3.74. Producers Co-op in Bryan came in second at $3.75, and the H-E-B on Texas Ave in College Station came in third at $3.79. Skyrocketing gas prices have fueled a new nationwide crime wave, with brazen thieves stealing gas from cars, trucks, and gas stations themselves. CNN's Adrian Brodas reports.
There was a pretty strong odor of gasoline.
They smelled it before they saw it.
As soon as he put it in the air, everybody could see that somebody had actually drilled a hole into the fuel tank. Right here is where he was able to drill all the way through the fuel tank.
Mike Gross said this Jeep, a trade-in, was sitting on the parking lot of the dealership he owns. This is the drill Neillsville police say gas thieves used.
So there was maybe 3 or 4 gallons of gas in there, and he did probably close to about $1,500 of damage in order to try to steal $15 to $20 worth of gas.
From Wisconsin to Atlanta and California, thieves, likely fueled by rising gas prices, are stealing from individuals and targeting gas stations with diesel. In Houston,
we ended up losing about $5,000 to $6,000.
That's Jerry Thale on security camera chasing the driver he says stole 1,000 gallons of fuel from his family's gas station over a 3-day period. At first, he thought his sensors were off.
This makes me kind of frustrated and angry. I can't pass this off to my customer.
The van is seen on security footage parking on top of the underground fuel tank.
They'll break the lock, and then they'll have a trap door inside their minivan. They'll open that up, break the lock inside our little little tube that goes into our tank. And they'll insert their own tube and then start their pump, and then that's when the diesel is suctioned into their van.
Also in Texas, security cameras captured trucks filling up with diesel at this Chevron station throughout the night. The owner told CNN 2,000 gallons of gas were gone, and the value at least $10,000.
This is especially an egregious crime with individuals taking advantage of businesses like this.
In North Carolina, surveillance video shows thieves apparently use equipment to bypass paying. Then, more than 15 cars pull up, fill up, and get away with $1,600 in fuel, prompting the owner to take extra security precautions. And in Washington, the Everett Police Department posting a warning on Facebook telling residents to park in a garage or a high-traveled area due to the increase in gas theft. Back in Wisconsin, work to replace Mike's damaged tank begins.
I was talking to an insurance adjuster, and he said he's seen several times now where people have started fires by trying to steal gasoline in this method. So not only is it not the smartest way to try to get gas out of there, but it's also a pretty dangerous way as well.
Well, if you were tuning in earlier, then you know that today is day 1 of 4 confirmation hearings for Katanji Brown Jackson. I think it's important that we tune in right now because our Texas Senator Ted Cruz is now addressing Jackson. So let's go live to Washington, D.C.
African-American woman nominated to the D.C. Circuit. The senior Democrats on this committee also filibustered Miguel Estrada. As the staff for Senator Ted Kennedy said in writing at the time, the Democrats filibustered Miguel Estrada, quote, because he is Hispanic. They were explicitly racial. If you are Hispanic or African American and you dare depart from their political orthodoxy, they will crush you, they will attack you, they will slander you, they will filibuster you. So this is not about race. It is, however, about issues and substance. And I got to say, I agree with Chairman Durbin. Chairman Durbin quoted Paul Simon, and he said, history will judge, quote, did she restrict freedom or did she expand it? I agree with that. The reason the American people care about the Supreme Court is it is integral to protecting or taking away our constitutional rights. When it comes to free speech, this committee should inquire, will you protect the rights of Americans to speak, to say unpopular ideas, to say ideas that the government doesn't want you to say, that you nonetheless have a right to say? Will you protect freedom or restrict it? When it comes to religious liberty, Will a justice vote to protect your right to live according to your faith and according to your conscience? Or will a justice vote to crush religious liberty and strip those rights away? The Second Amendment. Will a justice vote to defend your Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms, to defend your family, to defend your children? Or will a justice roll over to the Democrats that want a disarmed citizenry? The right to life. Will a justice protect the rights of the people, the rights of state legislatures to enact laws protecting innocent life, protecting unborn life, stopping abominations like partial birth abortion? Or will a justice view her job as a super legislator striking down all such rights? School choice. Will a justice protect the rights of kids to get a quality education, or will a justice legislate from the bench and shut down school choice programs across this country? And crime. We are seeing murder rates, carjacking rates, crime rates skyrocketing across the country, in significant part because political Soros-backed district attorneys, because of Democratic efforts to abolish the police. And part of the Democratic effort to abolish the police is nominating justices that consistently side with violent criminals, release violent criminals, refuse to enforce the law, and that results in jeopardizing innocent citizens. So all of those questions are fair game. Will you follow the law? What does your record indicate? Will you protect the rights of every American citizen, regardless of race, regardless of party, regardless of views? That's what the focus of this hearing should be.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Coons from Delaware.
Thank you, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Grassley.
All right. So again, this is day 1 of 4 in the confirmation hearing for Judge Katanji Brown Jackson. And of course, if she is confirmed, she will be the first African-American woman to serve on the nation's highest court. History in the making, y'all, and we are getting a chance to witness it. Let's talk about the conflict in Ukraine. Ukrainian officials are rejecting a Russian demand to surrender the port city of Mariupol early this morning, which would have already happened. Well, that's where Ukrainians have faced some of Russia's forces' harshest attacks.
They have not progressed as quickly as they would have liked to. I think they envisioned that they would move rapidly and very quickly seize the capital city. They've not been able to do that.
We know that Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is warning that if negotiations with Russia fail, it would mean the beginning of World War III. Zelensky says Russian forces want to exterminate the Ukrainian people. He says he's ready to negotiate with Putin, but he has rejected a proposal to recognize separatist regions. He said Ukraine cannot compromise its territorial integrity in negotiations. Meanwhile, the U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says Russia has suffered several setbacks in its invasion. While Russian troops have bombed and destroyed large cities, they have not been able to take control of much land against fierce Ukrainian resistance. U.S. and NATO officials say Russia faces low troop morale and is struggling to resupply its forces in Ukraine.
What happens in Mariupol is an epitome of war crime. Instead of simply opening a humanitarian corridors as we agreed and letting people out and letting supplies in, Russians are just trying to take the city down.
Well, some of the most innocent victims of the war in Ukraine have only just been born. Now, some of the hundreds of infants born to Ukrainian surrogates who are now trapped by the fighting, kept away from their biological parents, who are helpless to keep them safe, and they are anxiously watching the war from other countries. Charlie D'Agata spoke with the nurses keeping these babies alive and with one couple who decided they couldn't wait any longer.
They range in age from just a few days old to 5 months. 21 temporarily stranded surrogate babies, orphaned for now by the war raging above this makeshift basement bomb shelter, but not abandoned, looked after by an exhausted team of dedicated nurses, like Antonina Eufimovich.
Are you getting enough rest? You look very stressed.
Our rest is no more than 30 minutes or an hour. We can't take more time. A lot of babies crying.
They get a half an hour, an hour of sleep at a time. That's all the time. Day and night.
Day and night, yes.
Ukraine is a global leader in surrogacy. When the war broke out, it became too dangerous for the biological parents to come get them. The Growing Families charity estimates as many as 800 couples are waiting for their babies, including those from America. Standing sentry outside, we find Chief Dr. Igor Pechenoga, not in scrubs, but combat fatigues. We're in a war, he explains.
What are you telling the parents?
The truth, he says, what is happening here? The people are dying. Children are dying too. Not just soldiers, but also children. Mothers, sisters.
I think he's hungry.
Hecka and Gerhard Gottskog from Bavaria, Germany, decided the risks of traveling into an active war zone outweighed the risks of leaving Leonard in one.
That's why you came.
We have no electricity, no water. That's very dangerous for our baby.
And it's so not the normal.
Now, later it's dangerous. It's more dangerous.
You thought, let's go and get there now.
Yes.
The rest of the newborns remain safe for now. But as the war worsens and advancing Russian artillery strikes the capital, how safe and for how long?
Charlie Daggett is CBS News, Kyiv, Ukraine.
Let's talk for a minute about mental health. Estimates show that 1 in 5 adolescents and teens have a diagnosed mental health disorder, and the pandemic has caused that number to jump even higher. Bradley Blackburn has a story of a Virginia teen who got help for her depression and is now working to help others.
Aliana Carr is a standout high school student, excelling in and out of class.
I have a 4.1 GPA.
Her days are packed with extracurriculars and homework, but last fall she says she felt the pressure building from the pandemic and from being one of the only black girls in her school.
I had feelings of worthlessness and just extreme tiredness. I really didn't have any focus in school. And I just had overall feelings of depression and sometimes even suicidal thoughts.
It's something many teens are struggling with. More than a quarter of parents in a new survey say their adolescent has seen a mental health specialist, nearly 60% within the past year.
Some of the signs that these families or these parents spoke about were ones that really all parents should be aware of. And that includes excessive worry or anxiety, decreased interactions with family or friends, increased moodiness, drop in grades, a change in sleep or eating patterns.
Dr. Gary Freed is co-director of the poll, which also finds many parents encountered barriers, including long waits for appointments and finding a provider who takes their insurance.
These difficulties really highlight the strain of our current mental health system.
Aliana learned about the symptoms of depression online and reached out to a trusted teacher and her mom.
You found that therapy made a big difference.
It did. I applied the techniques that my therapist gave me, like breathing techniques to calm me down because I also suffer from anxiety.
Aliana and a friend started an organization called SAGE that provides mental health resources in schools for black girls. She's also lobbying local lawmakers for change. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News.
Less than half of the parents surveyed said their child's primary care provider asked about mental health at all during checkups. Researchers say parents should speak up at those visits if they have any concerns. There's some encouraging news for millions of Americans who are concerned about their unpaid medical bills. Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion announced that they are removing nearly 70% of medical debt from consumer credit reports. Research from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau shows that Americans racked up $88 billion in medical debt on consumer credit records as of June of last year. Starting July 1st, paid medical collection debt will no longer be included on consumer credit reports. A new study finds that kids who get COVID-19 appear to be naturally protected from getting it again for about 6 months. Age, sex, symptom severity, and BMI did not appear to impact the level of antibodies. Things changed at the 7-month mark, though. By then, only about half of kids still have detectable antibodies. The Omicron virus has stronger staying power than other COVID-19 variants, according to new research. Studies reveal Omicron survived about 3 times as long on surfaces like plastic and skin compared to the original virus. Researchers also say that people are more likely to test positive for Omicron by inhaling it than getting it through touch. Still, scientists say the findings are a good reminder to keep frequently touched spots like doorknobs and handrails as sanitized as possible. Congress is debating additional COVID-19 funding. Right now, the bill doesn't have enough votes to pass both chambers. This is a standalone bill that was introduced separate from the massive government funding package that just passed. Republican lawmakers are reluctant to spend more money on COVID response when there's still money left over from last year's relief bill. But the White House says more than 90% of that money has already been promised. The White House also warns not passing the bill could affect the federal response on vaccines, treatments, testing, and other global efforts. Hundreds of trucks are still driving through the streets of D.C. These truckers with the People's Convoy have been in the area for more than 2 weeks now. They are protesting federal COVID vaccine mandates. In a meeting with Texas Senator Ted Cruz, truckers said they wouldn't leave until their demands were met. Homeland Security officials say law enforcement will step in if there is a threat to the public if traffic is disrupted. All right, y'all, we're just about at that time where we are going to take a break for our 12 o'clock newscast on Kbtx. While we take that break, however, I am going to put up that live feed from Washington, D.C., day 1 of 4 of the confirmation hearings by the Senate Judiciary Committee underway for Judge Katanji Brown Jackson. Remember, if Judge Jackson is confirmed, she will be the first African-American woman to sit on the nation's highest court. Like I said, day 1 of 4, so this live feed will be going every single day during News 3 Now for the next few days. Senator Dick Durbin said that if everything goes according to plan, Judge Jackson is on track to be confirmed by Easter. So it's pretty soon. That's about a little less than a month away, y'all. So while we take our break, I am going to put up that live feed from Washington, D.C., but when we get back, we'll have another check of the weather with meteorologist Max Crawford, as we are expecting severe weather throughout the entire day and night here in the Brazos Valley. Download that Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App. Follow Kbtx Mia Montgomery, Max Crawford, and Shell Winkley on social media. Keep your phones charged. Pack that emergency kit. Make sure you have a safe place to be tonight. Make sure that you have food and water. Make sure you have a battery, a radio, and like I said, that your phone is charged and that you have your Pinpoint Weather App handy. Alerts being sent out throughout the entire night tonight as our Kbtx meteorology team works tirelessly to make sure that we are all as safe as possible. It's all hands on deck here at Kbtx. We are going to have weather coverage throughout the entire day today, whether it's live on social media or during one of our newscasts. You can bet your bottom dollar that one of our meteorologists will have an update for you and some information on how to stay safe. So we are taking our 30-minute break right now. When we get back, some more weather updates with Max. While we're on our break, we're going to tune into the confirmation hearing for Judge Jackson, and then we'll talk about some fun stories, because weather can be scary, and we want to be a little bit more positive about that stuff. So after weather, we will take a look at some fun stories, and I'll send you on your way on your Monday so you can get prepared for what is to come later this evening. Sound good? All right, let's go live to Washington, D.C., and I'll see you back here for the rest of News 3 Now at 12:30.
Sought to return the court to its historic role. The Supreme Court nomination process has been increasingly punctuated with not just those theatrics, but also with lots of personal attacks. That's not what this process is supposed to be. This process is supposed to be a careful, thorough investigation of a nominee's record to help the Senate make an informed decision on a nominee's fitness for a lifetime appointment. That's why these hearings are supposed to be different, not because people act like jackwagons, but because the people before us, nominated by the president, are potentially going to serve for a lifetime. That office, as Supreme Court Justice, is incredibly important, yet it's also carefully circumscribed precisely because it's a lifetime responsibility. But we know that it's been a long time since this process has worked like that. Instead, this is often a staging ground for nasty, evidence-free personal attacks. We started down this road of character assassination in the 1980s with Judge Bork's hearings, and senators have been engaged in disgusting theatrics ever since. The most recent Supreme Court nominee was subjected to repeated accusations that were nothing more than unfiltered religious bigotry against her. The nominee before her was accused of serial rape, aided by members of this committee. If this process were conducted in good faith, Miguel Estrada and Janice Rogers Brown might well be on the Supreme Court today, but their opponents lied and bullied rather than accepted principled minority judges. We've gotten so used to this kind of bullying that 2 years ago, the current Senate Majority Leader stood on the steps of the United States Capitol and screamed threats against 2 sitting justices of the Supreme Court that they would, quote, reap the whirlwind if they ruled in a way that didn't align with Chuck Schumer's political preferences. That's weird. We should all be able to pause and say, that's weird. That kind of behavior shouldn't happen. This process is broken, but it's a product of a broader brokenness in the erosion of our constitutional structure. A lot of people are willing to take a sledgehammer to the structure if it offers them a quick political win, and it's no coincidence that as more of us embrace an ends justifies the means philosophy of our jobs, which are supposed to be jobs of public trust, our politics becomes uglier, more brutal, and more pathological. Well, we have an opportunity today to do something different, and we can demonstrate that the Congress can carry out its constitutional duty responsibly without a lot of that past ugliness. Judge Jackson has served for the last 9 months on the prestigious U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit, and before that, you spent 8 years on the D.C. District Court. She has a long record of public service and a long roster of colleagues and friends who will testify to her professionalism. The president believes that she should have a lifetime seat on the Supreme Court, and it's the job of this body to evaluate that recommendation on its merits. So what should we be looking for? We should start with judicial philosophy. The Senate should have a good sense of the principles that will guide a nominee's decision-making on the bench. A robust and thorough judicial philosophy can help us understand how, when faced with difficult or unprecedented decisions, as the court occasionally is, and I would just like to compliment Senator Coons a minute ago mentioning that a huge, huge share of decisions that come out of the Supreme Court are actually 9-0. They just tend to not be the ones that make the headlines, but they're incredibly important. And the public trust that we need to restore in all 3 branches of government would be well served by us paying more attention to some of those 9-0 decisions. But the ones that tend to be most contentious and the ones that tend to generate the most headlines are the occasions where judges have to figure out what they do in areas which are gray and ambiguous, where the law might not be clear. And so it's incredibly important for a judge to tell us how she or he works out those principles in times that are new and confusing. This will make their rulings more durable and sound, and it will help rebuild public trust in the court and in the government more generally. Unfortunately, too many of the court's decisions do not rest on solid constitutional foundations and reliable legal reasoning. Justices have too often written decisions to claim partisan policy victories and then retrofit bad legal reasoning or political decision-making to justify that ruling. Some of the most divisive cases in the court's recent history fit that bill. It's for that reason that, while we should all respect the Ginsburg rule, the idea that judges sitting before this panel should not weigh in on hypothetical cases that are likely to come before the court, nominees do nonetheless have a duty to be very clear about their judicial philosophy, their legal views, and their interpretive principles. The American people should not be asked to consent to any nominee who operates on principles that are obscure, confused, or concealed. That means that each of us has a job to do in these hearings. It is our job on the Senate Judiciary Committee to ask questions that help give the American people a clear view of the nominee. It's Judge Jackson's job to make her philosophy clear and well understood. And at the end of a constructive hearing, a nominee will have given us a good sense of how she thinks about the constitutional structure, what it does and doesn't do, and the key pillars that support it, most fundamentally the separation of powers and our carefully calibrated system of checks and balances. Throughout this process, we should all remember that a Supreme Court justice is not a lawmaker by another name. A Supreme Court justice performs a crucial but limited function in our political system, namely to interpret and fairly apply the text of the law as written and as understood at the time it was adopted. A forthcoming nominee will make clear a commitment to uphold that purpose, which is the court's true purpose, not the purpose concocted for it by decades of political use, abuse, and overreach. A good nominee will show a commitment to the strict protection of enumerated rights, not the fabrication of unenumerated rights through contorted readings. An excellent nominee will offer a robust judicial philosophy that makes sound decisions more likely and more trusted by the public. Chairman, I look forward to hearing from Judge Jackson this coming week.
Thanks, Senator Sass. Senator Blumenthal of Connecticut.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Judge. Thank you for being here. Thank you to your family. And thank you to President Biden for his vision and wisdom and courage in nominating you. First, on a personal note, for all of your extraordinary accomplishments and your immense distinction, you have shown two qualities that are rare among powerful, accomplished people: kindness and humor. And you're obviously a good listener because you're doing a lot of listening here today. As you've seen, we're likely to hear more than a few straw men today, worn talking points, imagined grievances, but this hearing really should be about you, not about us. Historic is a word often overused in this place where a lot of history is made, but today seems truly to merit it. Certainly, it is an inflection point, an inflection pinnacle for our nation. The appointment of a black woman to the United States Supreme Court, let's be very blunt, should have happened years ago. This day is a giant leap into the present for our country and for the court. The appointment of a black woman to the court means that your service will make the court look more like America. Hopefully, too, it will make the court think more like America. We will never know in detail all of the challenges and obstacles that you've overcome to be here today, but we know for sure that you will bring an important perspective, in fact, a unique perspective, to a court that deeply needs it. Representation matters for the legitimacy and credibility of our judicial system. Judges are the face and voice of justice. People walking into your courtroom or any other in this country look to the human being, not just to the robes. Too often, our courts are isolated, seemingly sterile marble halls lacking emotional intelligence or a sensitivity to the impact they have on people, a fact that you clearly and dramatically understand. What really knocked me over in our meeting was the fact that you discussed your job as a judge in terms of the people who are affected by your rulings, the people whose lives are touched by the justice system, whether as victims, as criminal defendants, or as people dealing with a personal or professional conflict. You will be the first public defender on the court. You understand our justice system uniquely through the eyes of people who couldn't afford a lawyer. They couldn't afford their own lawyer, and you advocated for them. You will also bring to the court extraordinary intellect and character, as well as diverse personal and indeed professional experience. Your presence will ensure the court more fully and deeply understands the lives and experiences of everyday Americans. You grew up as the daughter of two public servants, public school teachers and administrators. You're the niece of uncles who have impressive law enforcement careers, including one as Miami's chief of police, and you also have family members who have struggled, as do every American. And you've advocated for defendants standing accused of serious crimes, as well as sentencing defendants who have been convicted of such crimes. You are an immensely devoted parent who has achieved eye-popping professional distinction. You've had a long career already as a distinguished jurist. In fact, you would bring more experience as a trial judge than any current justice on the Supreme Court. Now, I'd like to address directly the importance of your work as a public defender. I was a prosecutor and a law enforcement for a while, 4 years as U.S. Attorney and 20 years as Connecticut's Attorney General. And as a prosecutor, I know the system works best when there are good lawyers on both sides. My worst nightmare as a prosecutor was a defendant representing himself. My second worst nightmare was an incompetent counsel representing a defendant, because I know effective representation on the other side means more likely an error-free trial. I'd also like to address an issue that's been raised first by Senator Durbin and then by Senator Graham. I'm likely to be followed by one or more colleagues who have raised allegations about your record that are simply unfounded in fact and indeed irresponsible. They're unproven and unprovable. They're simply false. One of the first lessons that you learn as a prosecutor is never to promise a jury evidence that you don't have. There is simply no evidence to support these unfounded attacks. In fact, a commentary in the National Review cited by Senator Durbin said about those allegations, they are meritless to the point of demagoguery. Importantly, your record as a jurist also reveals impartiality. You're a proven unifier and a consensus builder, someone who can build bridges among colleagues, even adversaries. Not surprisingly, you've been confirmed on a bipartisan basis 3 times by the Senate. You've received glowing endorsements from former judges who are stalwarts of the conservative movement. The court needs a bridge builder. Now more than ever, it has become more polarized, more politicized, more divided than at any point in our history. And it faces a crisis of legitimacy as a result. Dark money special interest groups have sought to radically reshape the court. Their recent selection of justices was to a remarkable degree outsourced to ideological groups with the express aim of remaking the court in the image of the far-right conservative movement. This court has signaled that it will continue to overthrow well-established precedents after disingenuously promising us, members of this committee, that it would respect those precedents. And instead, it threatens to adopt preferred policy views. I revere the United States Supreme Court. I clerked for a justice myself, Harry Blackmun. I've argued 4 times before the court. I'm deeply concerned that this court is careening toward a precipice that will gravely threaten its role in our history, that it is out of step with America, and that it is losing the trust and respect of the American people that are essential to its authority. Trust in the United States Supreme Court is at a new low. The Supreme Court has no armies, no police force to enforce its decisions. Its authority depends on its credibility and the respect and trust of the American people. My hope is that you will help to restore that trust, that you will re-inspire the confidence of the American people in the court. I traveled, as did my colleague, Senator Klobuchar, to Poland just a week ago. And I saw people fleeing bombs and destruction, people, mostly women and children, who wanted nothing more than the kinds of freedoms that we have in this country. We have an obligation to preserve them. And my hope is that your nomination will help us do so. Thank you. I look forward to your testimony.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. Senator Grassley just asked me what the plan is. The plan is to recognize 2 more senators and then take a 30-minute break for lunch. Is that okay, Judge? All right, we have Senator Hawley of Missouri.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Judge, congratulations on your nomination. It's nice to see you again. Congratulations to all of your family. I know that this is a big moment for you and for them, and rightly so. I enjoyed our meeting a couple of weeks ago. You know, as I've said to folks who've asked about it, one of the things I particularly appreciated about our meeting, besides how much time you gave me, was how candid and forthcoming you were, which I really respected. And I look forward to a candid conversation again in the days that come. And by the way, I'm admiring how you're sitting so stoically through all of this senator talk. But I'm looking forward to visiting with you again. You did me the honor when we sat down of being very candid, and I hope I was candid with you. I've been candid since. I want to be candid with you today so you know exactly what it is I want to talk about, and so you know exactly where my head is at. So let me say a few things that I'm concerned about, aspects of your record that trouble me. This will come as no surprise. I've said it in public already. But I want to be, again, very candid in the interest of an open and honest discussion and specifics. So here are, I hope, in the next couple of days, some of the cases from your time on the court, the district court, the federal district court, that I hope that we can talk about. Let me just run through a few of them so you know exactly which ones I mean. United States versus Hawkins. This was a child pornography case where the defendant distributed multiple images of child porn, possessed dozens more, including videos. The federal sentencing guidelines recommended a sentence of 97 to 121 months in prison. Prosecutors recommended 24 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 3 months in prison. United States versus Chazen. That case, the defendant possessed 48 files of child pornography. The federal guidelines recommended 78 to 97 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended the same. Judge Jackson sentenced him to 28 months. United States versus Cooper. There, the defendant possessed dozens of images of child pornography and distributed dozens of images of child pornography, possessed over 600. The federal guidelines recommended 151 to 188 months in prison. That's a long time. The prosecutor recommended 72 months. Judge Jackson gave the defendant 60 months, which was the lowest sentence permitted by the law. United States versus Down, that's a case where the defendant distributed 33 graphic images and videos of child sexual assault to an anonymous messaging app, unfortunately a practice that's becoming more common. The federal guidelines recommended 70 to 87 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 70 months in prison. Judge Jackson sentenced him to only 60 months. Again, that's the lowest level that was permitted by law in that case. United States versus Stewart. The defendant there distributed scores of images of children suffering sexual abuse. The guidelines recommended 97 to 121 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 97 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave him 57 months. In United States versus Sears, the defendant distributed over 100 videos of child pornography. The guidelines recommended 97 to 121 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 97 months in prison. Judge Jackson gave him 71 months. In United States versus Savage, the defendant was convicted of traveling across state lines to engage in sexual intercourse with a child and also possessed 6 separate thumb drives of child pornography. The guidelines recommended 46 to 57 months in prison. The prosecutor recommended 49 months in prison. Judge Jackson sentenced him to 37 months in prison. Now, those are 7 cases that represent, as near as we can tell, all of Judge Jackson's cases dealing with child pornography from her time on the district court, in which she had some discretion to hand down a sentence. There's some other cases in which she didn't have any discretion. The law bound the sentence that she had to give. And what concerns me, and I've been very candid about this, is that in every case, in each of these 7, Judge Jackson handed down a lenient sentence that was below what the federal guidelines recommended and below what prosecutors requested. And so I think there's a lot to talk about there, and I look forward to talking about it. Now, I will note that some have said that the federal sentencing guidelines are too harsh on child sex crimes, especially child pornography. I've heard that argument a lot in recent days. The chairman quoted someone earlier today who takes that point of view. I'll just be honest, I can't say that I agree with that. I mean, the amount of child pornography in circulation has absolutely exploded in recent years. Here's a New York Times report from 2019. I'm quoting now. Last year, tech companies reported over 45 million online photos and videos of children being sexually abused, more than double what they found the previous year. The report goes on to say this: 20 years ago, these online images were a problem. 10 years ago, they were an epidemic. Now the crisis is at a breaking point. Unfortunately, it's even worse than that. Just last week, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported finding 85 million files of child pornography in 2021. And of course, this committee has heard testimony from prosecutors and others who are grappling with the problem of how to get at this porn and those who distribute it, how to prosecute them and hold them accountable. Here's my point. I think it's difficult against this backdrop to argue that the sentencing guidelines are too harsh or outmoded, or that we should be somehow treating child porn offenders more leniently than the guidelines recommend. But I want to be clear about this, that those arguments that I've just been rehearsing, those who say that, that's not what Judge Jackson has said. She hasn't had the chance yet to respond to this, and she deserves that chance. So others have made these arguments. I don't agree with them, but I think it's important we hear from Judge Jackson, and we'll have the chance to in coming days. And I think, again, the candor that Judge Jackson has shown previously, I look forward to, and she deserves the ability to speak for herself on this issue. So I will just say in closing, Mr. Chairman, some have asked, why did I raise these questions ahead of the hearing? Why not wait until the hearing and spring them on Judge Jackson, as it were? And my answer to that is very simple. I'm not interested in trapping Judge Jackson. I'm not interested in trying to play gotcha. I'm interested in her answers, because I found in our time together that she was enormously thoughtful, enormously accomplished, and I suspect has a coherent view and explanation and a set of thinking, way of thinking about this that I look forward to hearing. And I think she deserves the chance to talk about it. I think the American people deserve the chance to hear her answers. So they're my concerns, Judge. They're the cases. I imagine there'll be others that we can talk about on other subjects, but I'd like to talk about those so you know exactly where I'm coming from. Thanks again for giving me the time a few weeks ago. Congratulations again. I look forward to finally hearing from you tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Hawley. Certainly the judge deserves to be heard on that type of a charge. Senator Corona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Jackson, aloha to you and your family and all of your friends. I also note that there are members of the U.S. House here to support you, as well as members of the public. So aloha to all of you. Congratulations, Judge Jackson, on all that you have accomplished throughout your life and career. I realize that a lot of your background and experiences have already been cited, but there are things that are worth repeating, so I'm going to repeat some of them. You were the national champion in speech and debate as a high schooler. You have undergraduate and law degrees from Harvard, each with honors. 3 clerkships in federal court, including one at the Supreme Court for Justice Breyer, whom you have been nominated to replace. You have an accomplished career as a lawyer at the trial and appellate levels, both in private practice and as a public defender. 2 stints at the U.S. Sentencing Commission, including as vice chair. 9 years as a federal judge, first in the D.C. District Court and currently in the D.C. Circuit Court. And now you've been nominated to the United States Supreme Court. I have enjoyed reviewing your record and getting to know you over the past few weeks. And now the American people will get to know you over the course of this week. Beyond your impressive credentials, here are a few other things I want the American people to know. You were born in Washington, D.C. to 2 public school teachers. You moved to Miami, Florida at a young age, so your dad could go to law school. And you were inspired to pursue a career in law by watching your dad study for his law classes at the kitchen table. You first considered attending Harvard, a thought that hadn't previously entered your mind, after attending a speech and debate competition on the Harvard campus during high school. And then you thought, this is possible. You've been confirmed 3 times by the Senate, all on a bipartisan basis. First to the Sentencing Commission, and later to be judge on the D.C. District Court and the D.C. Circuit Court. You're the second generation in your family to go to college and work extremely hard to get to where you are today. You are a wife and mother of 2 children. Clearly, your life and your career have more than prepared you to serve on our nation's highest court, which is why it is no surprise that there is broad consensus across the political spectrum that you are an eminently qualified and fair person to serve on the Supreme Court. As former Fourth Circuit Judge Michael Luddick, a George H.W. Bush appointee, said, you are, quote, as highly credentialed and experienced in the law as any nominee in history, end quote. In history, that's over 200 years. 23 attorneys general said Judge Jackson is a highly qualified legal mind who has been at the forefront of the legal field for decades and will serve our nation well as the first Black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court. A group of law enforcement officers from across the country said, quote, Judge Jackson brings a depth of character, public service, and judicial service that leads to but one conclusion. She is eminently qualified to serve on the Supreme Court of the United States, end quote. You are an accomplished jurist, having issued nearly 600 opinions that demonstrate a clear, even-handed approach to the law. You have sided with workers, with employers, for and against the government, for prosecutors, and for criminal defendants. Former D.C. Circuit Judge Thomas Griffith, a George W. Bush appointee, summed it up best when he said, you, Judge Jackson, quote, will adjudicate based on the facts and the law and not as a partisan, end quote. Having reviewed your record, I strongly agree with this statement. But you are not just extremely qualified to serve as a Supreme Court. Your nomination is, of course, an historic one. The Supreme Court has existed for over 233 years. And of the 115 justices in the history of the Supreme Court, only 5 of them have been women, only 2 have been Black, and not a single one has been a Black woman. This is a court that has decided cases that have had sweeping effects on everyday life, as a number of my colleagues have pointed out, including decisions that have solidified rights for the LGBTQ plus community, decisions that have empowered women, that have strengthened unions, and more. But this is also the same court that has, throughout the course of history, upheld slavery, Jim Crow laws, and the unlawful internment of Japanese Americans. For over 233 years, the individual making decisions that have altered the course of this country have almost exclusively been white men. It's pretty remarkable when you consider the power that this court has and the historical lack of diversity of the people who exercise that power, the justices. But instead of celebrating the long overdue diversity Judge Jackson would bring to the court, some of my Republican colleagues and public figures have attempted to undermine your qualifications through their pejorative use of the term affirmative action. And they have implied you were solely nominated due to your race and not for other factors. Apparently, some have even claimed that you need to show your LSAT scores to determine whether you are a top legal mind. This is incredibly offensive and condescending. Let me be clear. Your nomination is not about filling a quota. It is about time. It's about time that we have a highly qualified, highly accomplished Black woman on the Supreme Court. It's about time our highest court better reflects the country it serves. It's about time that Black women and girls across the country can finally see themselves who look like them sitting on the highest court, making decisions that will impact their lives. And they will know that it is possible for them to do the same. One cannot overstate the importance of representation. Your experiences and your background as a trial judge, public defender, a mother, a Black woman, and so much.
All right, just about 12:30, so we are back here on News 3 Now, and I'm cutting in just a minute early to that live feed because we are monitoring severe weather moving into the Brazos Valley, and that severe weather is starting now, right? We're seeing a lot of rain and some wind, but it really is going to pick up when we're getting off of work. So the 5-6 o'clock hour into tonight, that's when we're going to see heavy wind gusts. We're going to see large hail, could even see the possibility of tornadoes. But don't take it from me, take it from our meteorologist, Max Crawford. We're checking in with him on an update as that severe weather moves into the Brazos Valley. Max, we appreciate you taking the time to join us on News 3 Now. Obviously, it is an insanely busy day for the three of you here at Kbtx, monitoring everything that is happening. But for folks who have a little bit of anxiety like me when the weather is less than ideal, let's just put their minds at ease. Obviously, y'all are going to be here all day giving us the latest coverage. What can we expect right now through the workday and then when we get off work?
Yeah, absolutely, Abigail. And you said all day, and likely for a lot of us here at the weather team for a good chunk of the night, too. And believe me, I understand the anxiety part more than I can explain right now. We'll talk about that another time. But essentially, through the rest of at least the early afternoon, so for the next few hours or so, things look a lot like they have for a good chunk of the day. It is about 70 degrees. It's very humid. It's kind of rainy. It's a little drippy out there. Passing showers is really what we're talking about through the next couple afternoons or the next couple hours. Then late into the afternoon, that's when storms are going to start to pop up to our west. Then they will move into the Brazos Valley by the early evening. Those are going to be the first couple opportunities for us to see severe weather, and that is also where the storms could be the strongest. Now we head into tonight, storms look more widespread, and yes, there is a severe potential to go along with that too. But again, I think the biggest concern for severe weather specifically is what we could find out there late afternoon into the early evening. So let me start with kind of how things look out there early into the afternoon. We're going to keep it cloudy. We're going to see passing showers. The latest from the Storm Prediction Center is this, that we have a 3 out of 5 chance for severe weather. If we're talking about it on severity of 1 to 5, we're kind of in the middle. So it is a day where numerous severe storms are likely. That said, and I think I'm speaking specifically to folks who have storm anxiety because, again, I know how you feel. There is still the chance that you don't see any severe weather at all. In fact, I think area-wise, a lot of us will not. That said, very large hail, 2 inches plus, right underneath that, an isolated strong tornado is a possibility. Some of us will see strong storms capable of 50-mile-per-hour plus wind that could cause some minor damage, heavy rain, and things like that. I think those of us who see rain, which is going to be quite a few of us, that's what most of us are going to see today. Everybody is going to see, though, these continued scattered showers, a couple thunderstorms, and some gusts of wind to about 35, 40 miles per hour. So again, if we're kind of talking a little funnel here at the very bottom of that, as it closes, that is the fewer of us who will see these strong storms, and hopefully none of us. But the concern is very real for some storms that get so strong that they will be rotating, potentially spinning up a tornado, or dropping some very, very large hail. And like I mentioned, the biggest time of day where we're going to have to watch that is about the 6 to around 8 p.m. hours. We get closer into the overnight, the severe threat's not over and done with, but the strong tornado, the very large hail threat goes down, and then we shift more to a wind and heavy rain potential. So I'm going to show you the latest pinpoint forecast, and take this with a grain of salt. Take location and timing, and just know that there is definitely still some wiggle room. Even though we are now to the day of the event, model data is more consistent, but we still are going to need some wiggle room because things will really not start to get super accurate until we actually start to see these storms pop up, right? So we'll start at about the early afternoon. And again, passing showers, couple rumbles of thunder, would not be surprised to see that at all. I think severe weather is pretty unlikely for the next few hours. Now we go farther in, about 4 or 5 o'clock, just out of the frame of this is where we're going to start to see those stronger storms pop up along in west of I-35. They will move eastward through the afternoon. I think what I've been telling everybody is by about 6 o'clock, just be where you're going to be for the night. Because this is where this round of storms coming through could potentially be the ones that spawn tornadoes and very large hail too. Again, note coverage. This is not for all of us, and this is also not a guarantee that Lee, Milam County are going to see this. That has been what we've been favoring with that first round, though. Again, these isolated supercells are going to be what carries the largest severe weather concern. Then we get past about 9, 10 o'clock, more thunderstorms pop up, and yeah, they look pretty rowdy, but the potential for the very large hail goes way down. The potential for strong tornadoes go down, though it's not zero. And we shift again more to the heavy rain and straight line wind threat. This is now at about 2 a.m. I think for a lot of us in the Brazos Valley, we're going to start to calm down, but we could see some lingering thunderstorms across our eastern counties through about the 4 or 5 a.m. hour on Tuesday. But by the time we get to sunrise on Tuesday, I do think that just about all of us are going to be home free. One thing we haven't mentioned a whole bunch yet, a flood watch in effect for our eastern counties. That goes until 7 o'clock tomorrow. That is where we're expecting the higher rainfall totals, 2 to 4 inches widespread, some localized totals of even more. And Abigail specifically speaking to that storm anxiety, which again, I know the feeling. The good news is we don't have to worry about severe weather after tomorrow morning, and we can enjoy the rest of our week. It's going to be a little bit breezy Tuesday, but other than that, we've got a gorgeous week on the way. Hopefully, we keep the severe weather to a minimum, but we know that it is a very real possibility today, and it is something that we're going to watch. We'll continue to update you on News 3 Now as needed, Facebook, Kbtx.com. However it is that you get your weather information from us, we will keep you updated.
Yes, Max, you are so correct. We are going to continue to keep people updated, pretty much just bombarding them with all of the weather coverage. Now, we've seen, some statewide, like Texas Division of Emergency Management, posting stuff like preparedness tips, right? Obviously, when there's severe weather, it is important to remember a certain amount of things to have that go bag ready. Do you have anything specifically that you think people here in the Brazos Valley should just make sure to watch out for? Obviously, you said by around 6 p.m., just kind of hunker down, be where you're going to be tonight. But for folks who still are feeling like maybe I should, be wearing a bike helmet if a tornado comes, what are you saying to those folks?
I would absolutely say go for it. If you are under a tornado warning and you got your innermost part of your house away from doors and windows and you want to wear a bike helmet, you want to have a bunch of pillows, blankets around you, things like that, that is absolutely advised. If you don't have a bike helmet or something to cover your head with, it is the same stuff that we were taught in grade school. Have something that you can cover your head with. If it's a big old textbook, if it's just your arms, whatever it is. In that situation, hopefully you don't need to, but yeah, bike helmet, absolutely. That is not going to hurt you, and especially if that makes you feel a little bit more at ease with where you are in your storm safe shelter, by all means go for it. I would say the another thing that I would have you do, just make sure the devices are charged. The tablets, the phones, things like that. If there is a power outage and you lose Wi-Fi, something like that, obviously a cell phone or smartphone would be the most opportune thing to have in that situation. And another thing that a couple of folks have brought up over the past couple of days, and whenever we talk about severe weather season, tropical winter weather season, whatever it is, in addition to having an emergency kit, having some supplies of water just in case. That goes with any part of the year, even wildfire evacuations, which a lot of folks are having to do out in West Texas. I digress. But have the phones charged and know that maybe SMS texts are going to be some of the best ways to communicate with people right as you lose power. Because if you lose power, chances are other people have too, and they're all trying to use the cell towers to make calls and things like that. So sometimes text is going to be the easiest and the quickest way to communicate with folks to let them know you're okay, let them know where you are, etc. So keep that in mind. Again, keep all the devices charged and have some batteries for a flashlight, candles, things like that, just in case the power does go out for you. And with that in mind, we'll continue to send the lower bandwidth updates, more texts and screenshots and things like that, should that become a problem heading into tonight. But if the TV goes out, and you do feel comfortable using a tablet or a phone to stream us, whether it's on Facebook or on our website, things like that, that's another way that you can get to us if the power does go out this evening.
And then, Max, the last thing is that I'm going to continue to plug our Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App. How does that app work? Why should folks download that?
Yeah, it's super easy. Just search Kbtx Weather in the App Store, download it, and the amount of information that you have to plug into it is very, very low. You can kind of tell it a zip code, and then it will give you zip code specific, and not instructions, but watches, advisories, things like that, and then just any sort of push notification that we send out to the app. What I would recommend, at least for tonight, enable location services. I know a lot of people don't particularly like doing that with certain apps. It doesn't like knowing where it is. I totally get that. But I would say just for tonight, if you turn that on, it will find your location in space and cater the push alerts specifically to where you are. Some of the ones that we have master control of, we will send out to everybody. But there are others, if there's a watch or if there's a warning specifically issued for your area, you're going to get that notification immediately. Right as the National Weather Service issues it, you'll get that information, and then you can either stay in the app and get more information that way, or switch over to us on air or streaming, or however you get your information from us from a secondary source, and we're going to be there too. We can continue to give you up-to-date information on that. So, yeah, download the app. Again, you don't even have to have it by tomorrow morning, but I would recommend that you have that, or at least another way to get warnings over the course of the night, because some of this might happen post 10 p.m., maybe even post midnight, especially across our eastern counties. And I don't want to make you have to stay up all the way through the overnight. So having your phone on loud, having those notifications turned on is a good way to make sure that you can sleep through it if you can. But if something's coming your way, you want to have a way to get those alerts.
All right, Max, thank you so much again for taking the time to be on News 3 Now. We're going to continue to update, obviously, throughout the entire duration of the day and the nighttime. Max, Shell, and Mia are going to be here. Good luck to you guys, and thank you for what you do for keeping us safe.
Absolutely. Thanks, Abigail.
Keep that Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App handy. Keep your phone charged for alerts throughout the entire night tonight, all right? Don't be nervous. Just be prepared. And take deep breaths, and again, make sure that you have that emergency preparedness kit in place. Make sure that you are in a safe place tonight. Don't go out on the roads, and just make sure that you're communicating with friends and family, letting them know that you are safe and checking in on them as well. We will continue to keep you updated here on Kbtx literally all day and all night long. More than you can ever wish or hope for. We will be here working for you for the next 24 hours. All right, so as Max said, once we get through tomorrow morning, things are looking a lot better, like drastically different weather-wise for the rest of the week. And so we'll talk about some positive things happening here in the community and just in the world in general, because, woo, that was a lot of negativity, and I don't really like that, especially on a Monday when we're already, like, dreading going back to work. So, check this out. The Brazos County Youth Livestock Show starts this week. Over the weekend, we got to meet our new queen at this year's Queen's Dance. Riley Stokes was crowned show queen for the 2022 season. Some of her tasks include taking interviews, going to show events throughout the year, and ultimately being the face of the show. How cool is that? Throughout the week, there are going to be activities including the Lamb and Goat Show on Wednesday, the Steer and Heifer Shows on Friday, and an auction on Saturday. The chairman of the board says these kids are the ones who will bring food to our tables one day.
The BCYLA, it's promoting agriculture kids. One day they're all going to be feeding the world. And they don't get a lot of publicity, but they're great kids, and we try to do everything to help them that we can.
All of these events will be held at the Brazos County Expo Center. You can head over to our website, kbtx.com, to find a complete schedule for the show. And I don't know if you heard, but the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo, you know, it ended yesterday, but it ended with a historic sell. This is so crazy. The new Grand Champion Junior Market steer, called Vanilla Ice, sold for a record-breaking $1 million. This surpasses the rodeo's previous record of $625,000 in 2019. That's crazy. Congrats to Vanilla Ice. Well, hey, over the weekend, this was fun. Nearly 200 members of the nation's largest independent Santa organization, yeah, Santa, were in BCS. The Lone Star Santa's Roundup continued with a style show. Santas sported a mixture of looks ranging from custom designs to pieces found online. Some of the looks included traditional Santa, woodland Santa, and leisure Santa. A board member told us this is one of the most anticipated parts of the Santa Roundup.
This is their chance to come up and show the crowd what they've got going, their new suits, give the rest of the people ideas on what they can do. It's all part of trying to be a better Santa for the state of Texas.
You could see some Santas strutting their stuff at the Santa Style Show. All kinds of different looks for these Santas. How fun is this? Ooh, I love that all white. Fancy Santa. That's hilarious to me. Well, hey, a dangerous high-speed stunt in a city neighborhood saw a rented Tesla go airborne to a destructive crash landing. Police want answers and are looking for the public's health. Take a look at this.
Police are seeking witnesses to a shocking and illegal high-speed stunt performed in a Los Angeles neighborhood. LAPD officials shared multiple angles of the caught-on-camera stunt that saw a rented Tesla go airborne through a steep intersection and crash land into two parked cars and some trash cans. Police say the driver abandoned the vehicle and fled the scene. A $1,000 reward was offered to anyone able to help positively identify the driver behind this viral vehicular violation that authorities say never should have been done. It was no stunt, but instead a dangerous twist of fate that saw two pigs forced to confront a bear in Connecticut.
I'm still in shock. I'm still like, oh my God.
Owner Rebecca Shaw says she still can't believe the bravery her two pigs showed as they ran off the burly intruder, managing to escape the scary showdown unharmed. Shaw said she's particularly proud of the smaller pig, Hamlet, a normally timid animal who she says found his courage in the moment.
He is a scaredy cat. He's a timid baby. It must have taken every ounce of courage he has ever had in his life to run out like that.
Shaw says the pair are okay and have become more alert following the fracas.
I'm just super proud of these pigs. They're my therapy. I just love them so much.
For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Those pigs are awesome. Awesome. All right, who loves trashy TV? I don't, but if you do, after 31 years of crazy stories, DNA tests, lots of fights, and lots of I cannot believe that just happened moments, Maury is saying goodbye. The long-running daytime talk show series hosted by Maury Povich will end production this season. The series details an array of hot-button topics and social issues centered on Povich's guests as well as the in-studio audience. So what's next for Maury? Well, no word from the 83-year-old's representative just yet. Stay tuned. Single parents looking to find a life partner have a new tool. The online dating company Match has just launched Stir, an app that focuses on linking unattached parents. Officials say they want to make sure there's a place for men and women with kids to, quote, feel like they can be themselves. According to data from nearly 1,500 Stir members, 27% of single parents say scheduling conflicts makes it hard to date in general. Most polled also say financial stability and emotional maturity are among the qualities most sought after in a potential mate. Raise your hand if you watch Rick and Morty. Good news, people who like to dip their McDonald's chicken nuggets and french fries in something a little more daring than ketchup. The fast food giant is bringing back its Szechuan sauce on March 31st. It is coming back, y'all. The condiment, which includes soy, ginger, vinegar, and garlic, will only be available through the McDonald's app. The fan favorite made its debut back in 1998 and made two very brief appearances since then. Customers can get the sauce with their order of McNuggets, or they can buy up to 5 containers on the side. Let's talk about sleep. Last night I went to bed at 8:15. Yeah, 8:15. Got about 10 hours sleep last night. It was lovely. Listen, if you are not tucked into bed before about 10 p.m., then dreaming a sweet little dream is going to be a lot more difficult for you. That's because a new OnePoll survey is proving that Americans who go to bed at 9:39 p.m. have the best night's sleep. But it's not just the time to keep in mind. 2/3 surveyed said they need a comfy blanket, a cool room, and not eating before bed is also a key to a solid snooze. Ooh, and 2 pillows are a must. So all right, this is our new mission. In bed, asleep, 9:39, cool room, comfy blanket, 2 pillows, and go to bed just a little bit hungry. Don't eat a snack right before bed. I don't know. Try it out and let me know if you have a better night's sleep, if you feel more well-rested. Like I said, I already go to bed super early, so I don't really need to change the time I go to bed, but the other stuff I could definitely try out. Okay, more good news. This is for people who like to let their emojis do the talking. I do love some emojis. How cute are these? Apple's latest update to iOS 15.4 features 123 new options. They include a melting face, heart hands, a nest with eggs, and quite a few gender-neutral images, including a person with a crown and a pregnant man. The handshake emoji is now also going to be offered in 25 new skin tones for users. Pretty cool. All right. Let me ask you a question. Are you happy, like genuinely happy? Well, would going to Disneyland make you feel happier? Let me tell you this. It actually turns out that Disneyland is not the happiest place on Earth. You know what is? Finland. Yeah, no, not kidding. Finland, for now the 5th year in a row, is the top spot on the list of happiest countries from the World Happiness Report. Finland, y'all. This is based on life evaluations from the Gallup World Poll, including healthy life expectancy, GDP per capita, social support in times of trouble, low corruption, and high social trust. Freedom, generosity, and a community where people look out for each other are also all considered. The United States ranked 16th on the list. And here's what we'll end our day with today, this morning, actually this afternoon now. Whoa, it's already almost 1 o'clock. Remember CBS's new series, Kindness 101? Well, we got another one for you with one of my personal favorite storytellers, Steve Hartman. Now, if you don't know Steve, you might recognize him. He has On the Road, which was an Emmy-winning series for the CBS Evening News. Does that ring a bell? Well, now this Kindness 101 series is when he shares stories that are built around themes of kindness and character and some people who have mastered those qualities. It's a good topic of discussion for kids, and pretty sure it's a good discussion for adults as well. Today's lesson is empathy. Steve and his kids introduce us to a selfless boy whose favorite thing to do is help others.
Good morning. I'm here with my daughter, Meryl.
Hi.
And today we're going to explore
empathy.
What is empathy? For that, we go over to your brother, Emmett, at the dictionary desk. Emmett?
So empathy is to experience the thoughts or feelings of someone else.
Yeah, or the ability to look at what someone else is going through and say, what if that was me? This is a very important quality because without empathy, people wouldn't care enough to help each other.
It would be like, hey, you handle that yourself.
That's exactly
It's
what
your
it would be.
problem. It's hard to imagine.
Well, fortunately, America is full of empaths. Those are empathetic people. And I have an example to illustrate. A story pulled from our archives about a preschooler who is so empathetic, it's his superpower.
He's faster than a speeding stroller, more adorable than a wet kitten, and able to get a stranger's attention with a single courtesy.
Excuse me?
This is America's latest superhero.
Don't forget to show love.
And the only superhero with the power to feed the homeless.
Now, why do you do that?
You know what, Mr. Steve? It's just the right thing to do.
Is it?
Yes.
You want honey?
By day, Austin Pirine is a mild-mannered 4-year-old from Birmingham, Alabama. But about once a week, he turns into this alter ego.
Would you like a sandwich?
A superhero set on feeding as many homeless people as possible.
Thank you. What's your superhero name?
President Austin.
President Austin.
President Austin?
President Austin. That's his idea of what the president is supposed to do. I was like, buddy, you have no idea. But hey, I'm going along with it.
TJ says this all began when they were watching a TV show about pandas. It showed a mama panda abandoning a baby. TJ told his son the cub was now homeless.
He says, what's homeless? I said, well, it's when you don't have a home and sometimes you don't have mom or dad around.
I can tell what the follow-up question is going to be.
Yeah, are people homeless? When I was a 4-year-old, I didn't care about helping people.
I did.
I see.
Once Austin learned some people are homeless and some are even hungry, he launched this Caped Crusade. Told his mom and dad that he wanted all his allowance and money they would spend on toys
Here you go.
to go toward chicken sandwiches instead.
Oh, thank you, baby.
You're welcome. Don't forget to show love.
After he gives out each sandwich,
Yes.
he gives each person that same bit of advice.
Don't forget to show love.
Don't forget to show love, he tells them. And most do, immediately.
Well, thank you. It warms my heart to see him.
It'll warm anyone's heart. Yeah, he really did, man.
Raymond Baugh says this kid gives him hope.
That's where it starts.
Don't forget to show love.
Everyone who meets Austin leaves with hope. Which is why, with any luck, someday President Austin won't be a superhero anymore.
Being the homeless is the highlight of my life.
He'll just be a president.
All right, come on, Austin.
Superhero and announced 2052 presidential candidate Austin Pirine joins us now. Hello, Austin. Hey, TJ.
Hello.
Hello. Do you still feed homeless people?
Yes, I do it once a week.
You still wear the cape?
No, because I was getting too much attention. Everyone was noticing me, and I wanted to be more about the homeless people.
TJ, did you raise him to be like this, or is this just coincidence?
Well, it's a combination of both. I try to do the best I can, but I'm a lucky guy as well.
It's just something that I love to do. It's like my passion. I gotta feed them, you know?
What are you thinking?
Everything.
You just made my daughter get emotional. No, but I think everybody feels the same thing. It's okay. No, we just think you're a really sweet young man, and we're glad you're out there helping people.
Feeding the homeless is still the highlight of my life.
Beautiful. Well, thank you very much for joining us, you two. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Meryl, if you're empathetic, you know what I'm feeling now.
Happy that we did that story.
Yes. We'll see you next time.
Until then, stay kind.
All right, I've decided Kindness 101, definitely, by far, without a doubt, my favorite CBS News series of all time. I think we can all learn a whole lot from those kids. What an awesome way to spread love and kindness and empathy. Today's lesson was empathy. I love it. All right, so really quick, before we go, I'm just going to direct you to the App Store where you can get your Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App. I have mine downloaded and sent to my zip code. I have my alerts turned on, and I allow them to use my location so that if there is anything happening when I am not here at work at Kbtx, that my Kbtx meteorologists are able to alert me and I am able to get prepared ahead of time. So highly recommend downloading the Kbtx Pinpoint Weather App. Keep it with you, keep your phone charged, and stay safe and stay dry tonight. Let someone know that you are safe, and just stay connected with folks tonight, all right? Stay safe, stay inside, make sure you have food, water, and that your phone is fully charged, y'all. We are all in this together. I wish us the best of luck. May the odds be ever in our favor, all right? We are going to end News 3 now for the day. We went almost the full 2 hours here today because of our severe weather coverage. Remember that you can tune in at any time, kbtx.com, Kbtx Facebook page, or Kbtx on TV for the latest from our Kbtx meteorologists, Shel Winkley, Mia Montgomery, and Max Crawford. With that, I am going to say goodbye. I will see you right back here at 11 o'clock tomorrow for more News 3 Now. Good luck with the weather tonight, and wish us luck here at Kbtx, keeping y'all updated throughout the entire evening tonight as well. And of course, on this Monday with this stormy weather, I'm sure y'all need this reminder: you are loved, and I'm happy that you're here. Stay safe, stay dry, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow for more News 3 Now.
Thank you for watching News 3. Local, trusted. Thank you for watching News 3. Local, trusted. Thank you for watching News 3. Local, trusted.